A meaty is one of the core concepts of pressure in Street Fighter 6, and today I want to go over everything you need to know about what a meaty is, how it can effectively be used on offense, and how you can start implementing it into your gameplay right after watching this video. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So let's go over what a meaty is and how we can abuse it. A meaty essentially is nothing more than us pressing a button before our opponents wake up, hitting them with later active frames, or the exact active frames of it. So right here, this is a great example of a meaty. We use a button, the button is already out and active, and our opponent gets hit during their wake up animation. If they try to do anything like, let's say for example, a jump, an attack, a backdash, they all get covered by meaties, which is why this is such a great option against very active players on defense who are trying to get out no matter what. And also another thing why meaties are so strong and it's incredibly useful, a meaty by itself is able to manipulate frame data. So let's take crouching heavy punch from Cammy for example. If I were to attack Juri right here on block, this move by itself in advantage is 1 frame, correct? So now what we're going to do is we're going to do a meaty setup which auto times this button and see what happens. Now all of a sudden, this move ends up being +2. And we can even go further all the way up to +4. So a move that is originally +1 can now become +4. And the same goes if you're doing it on hit. This move by itself is +7. So all you can really do is link into this, into spiral arrow, into whatever, right? However, if we meaty it, we're now able to do something like this. Back heavy kick is a frame 9 move, which means we're adding the extra frames of hitting a meaty. We're using a back heavy kick to generate a combo that would do more damage. Another thing that I want to add that's really strong is that some meaty setups with like low recoveries, like let's for example, like say like a jab or whatever, actually can beat certain level 1s in the game as well, such as Manon, Ed, a couple other characters. So you can actually go for things like this, where you're hitting the jab on the last possible frames, and then you're able to punish your opponent who's trying to go for level 1 right here. This usually only works with jabs or like crouching light kicks, anything that's like super low recovery. But yeah, still something I wanted to mention as well, incredibly strong. So you can probably see why meaties are strong, right? They just beat so many options by itself, but as strong as they are, obviously everything in the fighting game is counterplay, so let's also go over what beats a meaty. And it's very simple. There's 3 things that a meaty loses to. Number 1, perfect parry. As you can see, if you go for meaty right there, because we're landing on the absolute first frame, if you do parry, it will always be perfect parry no matter what. Which then is really bad for you because your opponent can just back throw you into the corner, and then you're in trouble. Number 2 and 3, which you can combine, is EXTPs and supers. Right? Our opponent has the opportunity here, obviously, for pressing a button to just disrespect us and go for a super. These are the 3 things that meaty loses to, but everything else is pretty much fair game, which is incredibly good for us. And for all the other options, as in perfect parry, EXTP, and supers, you can actually just fake the meaty by itself, like right here, and then just end up shimmying instead in order to full punish them into like whatever, right? But you get my point. It's like these options are not that hard to beat if you think they're going to go for something else, which is why meaties are so strong. It's like, I'm going to meaty and now I'm going to fake a meaty. For example, right here, decide to not go for it. Oh, you DP'd, you super, whatever. There you go, you get hit. So that begs the question, how do we actually set up meaties for us? There are 2 instances of how to set up a meaty. Number 1 are automatic meaty setups. So these are the ones that I just showed you multiple times over and over again, which is to use crouching medium kick into a heavy spiral, which leaves us 29 frames, right? Then we're going to use a standing light kick for the recovery of 17 frames, and then immediately go for a crouching heavy punch in order to achieve the extra frames needed right there. This is an automatic setup where all we have to do is just press the buttons accordingly and whiff the button so we can get the full recovery frames of it in order to press another button which then will hit the opponent. This is an automatic meaty setup which can lead into throw loops, which can lead into a better combo, as I said right here. Extremely good and valuable, right? These are automatic meaty setups. However, they are pretty paragraphed because you're using a light kick right here. So there isn't really much more that you can do besides trying to bait it. And then number 2 is a manual time meaty setup. So these are basically, if for example I were to go for a throw here, and I were to go for this button right away. This is +7, which again wouldn't really make sense because this is 6 frames, so I'm hitting a meaty here by a singular frame, which would allow me to go for this, for example, as a setup or anything else. This is a manually timed setup, which can lead into several options because your opponent doesn't expect it. Because you can also very well just go for a throw here, or then you go for the meaty right here and then land all of this, right? So as you can see, these are a lot less paragraphed, and these are just good in general. You can also use them after like specific knockdowns. So this right here is also a manually timed meaty setup for Cammy, where you would hit the opponent here doing it during a regular medium spiral arrow, and you would be +9. So you can do heavy punch right here into another spiral arrow or like a full combo. So as you can see, like these are a lot less paragraphed. There's not really that much your opponent can do against them because they're just put in a strike throw scenario most of the time. So now let's go over the last part, which is how to practice meaty setups. And honestly, this one is unfortunately not universal. You have to figure out yourself what the meaty setups are for your character, or look it up on Twitter and YouTube. That's the only things I can really do to help you here, because I cannot just give you a meaty setup for every single character in the cast, because I don't play every single character, right? So you just gotta figure it out by yourself. However, for the ones playing Cammy, I do have 2 for you right now that just demonstrate you can start practicing. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set our opponent to block, but only standing, right? The only switch block is not happening. Standing block only is the thing that we want right here. And we're going to start doing the crouching medium kick into heavy punch. Crouching medium kick, heavy punch, you immediately go for a standing light kick, and then afterwards you go for a crouching heavy punch. You know you did it right if the frame data says advantage 4 frames. If it is lower than 4 frames, let's say +3, +2, or +1, you did it too late. You have to do it earlier. The only solution is to do it earlier every single time, because there is no being too early in this case. It is simple math. So just practice that timing over and over again until you get it. And that's pretty much it for today's video. If you want to watch more guides like this, I'm currently in process of uploading as many of them as I can. And if you want a personalized experience, link in the description for coaching, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one. Bye.